what we're going to talk about this evening is the idea of the joys of parenting, the joys and the challenges, the heartaches of parenting. And at any time you feel led to share, both trying to help somebody or address an issue as an experienced parent, then feel free to do so. Or if you want to bring out, another, set of joys that have not been mentioned in the handout I have, or challenges or heartaches that you have faced as a parent, good place to share. So as I mentioned share, I'm going to share screen now. I have a 2-page handout that is going to, first page is going to talk about some joys of parenting, and then the second page, the challenges and the heartaches of parenting. All right, so here goes. Everyone, we're going to talk about parenting, and I'm not a parent, just a counselor. But it says here, it starts by saying it's hard to know what you need to know when it comes to parenting. Parenting is a tough job. It is very tough, depending on the kind of challenges that come into your life from your children, it's tougher. And even when they are good children, it's still tough because there are some other things you have to take into consideration when we talk about the heartaches and the challenges later. So parenting is not easy. We all know that, all right? And it can be overwhelming at times. So true, so true. After all, parents need to take care of everything from choosing a family dentist to planning daily meals. Therefore, parents need to do their best when it comes to raising their children to help them succeed at parenting. I want to say this one more time. Even if you have the little angel, even if you have the best children in the world, obedient, nice, submissive, it's still tough because, as it says, you have a number of things that you need to do in order to make sure that your children are well. And whether it be taking care of them with their meals and school, you name it, it's still a lot to do. And good children or bad children, parenting can be overwhelming. But let's talk about the positive first. Here are some joys of parenting. It says here again, parenting is not easy, but if you have the right tools and resources, it can be a lot easier. The trick to being a good parent, notice the underlined phrases, bold as well. The trick to being a good parent is getting organized. You cannot be a parent that's disorganized and all about the place, and disorderly. Let me just put it this way: if you're not an organized parent, and you need to learn order and organization, because it's going to be a whole lot messier if you don't. All right, so some tips to being a good parent: get organized. Secondly, learn about your child's development. Learn about, read, ask people, YouTube video, get some knowledge in. Even before you, like for instance, this is Mother's Day, even before you would have birthed your first child, I would suspect that some of you would have been reading up about motherhood and also asking some persons. Some of you would have asked your own very mothers, and I'm certain some mothers and mother-in-law would have given free advice, whether you wanted it or not. So the idea is, being a parent and preparing to be a parent, you must learn about your child's development. Even after your children have come into this world, you must be learning about them, learning about the various stages of adolescence. No, I know how this is. I understand. Some of you are already saying, whether man or woman, whether father or mother, you're saying that, Pastor, when you learn them, it's still not easy. Of course, we've been saying that all along. It's still hard to study. There are just some things that the book just doesn't prepare you for. And even when people tell you of other experiences, there are just some things that may happen in parenting that you were never prepared for. However, it is worse if you don't read up. It is worse if you don't ask questions. It is going to be, because you're already going to get some surprises. Are you going to let every single thing surprise you, or are you going to be prepared learning about your child and your children's development? You have to do that in order to get at least ahead of some things, so that when the surprises come, it's not as overwhelming, because some things you already knew. All right. And then the third thing here in being a good parent, you must know how to handle the common issues. This is the hardest part of it, because you notice the operative word, common. because there are going to be some uncommon issues. There are going to be some surprises, some special issues, but there are some common issues, and the operative word in this phrase is common. So for instance, if you are a new parent and you are you just have a young baby, you would have and should have been talking to some mothers, experienced mothers before, and to ask, what do I do when my baby has cold? You know, how do I, you know, those are common issues, you know, how to be able to extract that particular mucus, you know, which some of you mothers know about, how to be able to extract the mucus, you know, those kind of things. Those are common issues. What do you do when so and so? So know how to handle these issues, hear from other people. So again, these common issues would have been experienced by others, people that have written books, your friends, your family members that are experienced parents. So therefore, get organized, my friends, as parents. Learn about your child's development and know how to handle common issues that come up as they grow up. And so we're going to now look at some joys that come with parenting. And at the end of this, if you have more things you want to share about, some joys that you have as a parent, feel free to. First thing and foremost, parenting is rewarding. It's a rewarding venture. Parenting is rewarding because you get to watch your child grow up and develop their own personality. You experience so many firsts as a parent, from the first smile all the way to walking down the aisle on graduation day. And this one is big, graduation day, from graduation day of the various faculties, whether it be prep school, primary school, then high school, then college, you know, university, the various graduations in their life. It is rewarding. This is one of the proudest days for parents. True? Very, very proud when you see this is how your little one has now grown up. These particular events, such as graduation and special events, they are markers for you to realize that your child is growing up. So the parenting is rewarding. These are precious moments you will never forget as a parent. Birthdays, you name it. Birthdays, of course, are markers. You know, so parenting, we're talking about the joys of parenting, and one of them is that parenting is rewarding. Secondly, parenting brings out feelings of safety and security. As a parent, it is normal to feel a sense of safety and comfort when your child is nearby. This is because parenting activates the parental instinct, which is a biological response that helps parents protect their children. Therefore, parenting makes you feel good both emotionally and physically. It gives you this sense of I'm a responsible person. In fact, I'm almost charting on the third one. So parenting gives you a sense of purpose, which is the third thing here. As a parent, you are responsible for nurturing and caring for another human being. That's huge, you know. That's huge. That's huge. You are responsible for nurturing and caring for another human being. That's a huge responsibility. I applaud any parent, even if it is unplanned, planned or unplanned. I applaud any parent who decides to take on this role of taking care of another human being, because it's a huge responsibility. I don't know if we sometimes, meaning as family members, friends at church, and so forth, I don't know if we would have done enough at times to help and come alongside of young people who become parents. Because I think we need to make sure that they understand, especially young parents, the huge responsibility that they're taking on. You know, not to scare them, but to prepare them to say that this is big. From a positive light, it is coming alongside a young parent to say, you are now a man or a woman, and you're taking on a little man and a little woman in your life. You are now taking on a huge responsibility, and son, daughter, here are some things you're going to have to need to do. And so it gives you a sense of purpose. This can be challenging though, but it also gives you a sense of purpose that you may not have experienced before parenting. It is gratifying to see your child grow up into a happy, healthy individual who can take care of themselves and make their own way in life. So that's one of the joys of parenting. We're going to look at this other one, and then after we're done with this page, I'm going to invite anyone else to share about a joy, maybe something that's missing here that you say, Pastor, I'd like to share this one about some other joys of parenting that you would have experienced. Parenting is an important job. It's an important job. Parenting is an important job that requires a lot of sacrifices. And the first few years can be especially challenging. You may experience feelings of anxiety or stress as you try to take care of your child while also doing things like working and cooking meals, making sure bills are paid on time, etc. Because I'm thinking that some of you are wondering, so what is the joy in all of this? This sound all negative and challenging. However, parenting is an important job that not all people can accomplish. Seriously. Therefore, parents can take pride in their successes as parents. Not everybody can be a parent. I was watching a Sunday afternoon movie this afternoon on TVJ. Just glimpsing it. And there was this man, young man, career man, and his sister died, and the sister told him that if she were to die, then I want you to take care of my son. So yeah, of course, the son would be his nephew. And this young man struggled to take care of his nephew because he was on the career path, the up and up of the career path. And he was struggling to try to give attention to his nephew. And he was struggling to strike that balance between career mobility, upward mobility, and taking care of his nephew, to the point where he got frustrated and he just shipped him off. This little boy was asking, where are you taking me? He never said anything. And then after a while, he tells him, I'm carrying you to your aunt, and which had other siblings, other children to take care of, by the way. And he left the boy there. And a friend was telling him, man, you didn't even give it a good try. You didn't have to ship him off. He said, I cannot raise a child. I don't know how to. And I think that there are some parents who need to start with that part, to admit that you're young and you don't know how to. But admitting that you don't know how to means that you're going to find how to. You're going to find out about how to be a parent. Admitting that you don't know how to be a parent, if you're new to this business, to this job of being a parent, will make you find answers. The end of the story, the movie, is that after a while, he started to miss the nephew, miss this, and then he said, I'm going to give it a shot, because he realized that he will have to learn how to balance career and balance all of the other stuff and be a parent to this child. And of course, they lived happily ever after, movie style. But my friends, it's a big accomplishment to be a parent. I remember, not remember, but noted that I think it was Sister Moran, right, who sent something in our marriage fellowship group this afternoon about a mother and all the stuff that a mother does. A mother can be, and these are not careers that the mother would have just studied for, but a mother can be a lawyer, doctor, nurse, a teacher, all in one in the family, right? And a father can be all of that too. So I'm just saying that a parent can be all of these things while you never what you call studied and have the qualification and the doctorate. But because you're now being a parent, your child is going to come to you for advice. Your child is going to come to you for help. Your child is going to come to you for healing. Your child is going to come to you for several things. And they sometimes expect you as a parent to know it all because you're the parent. So it's a big accomplishment being a parent. It's an important job. And so I want to tell you all, if you're parents, and if you have had struggles and your children are adults now, and you might be either satisfied with what they have become or dissatisfied with what they have become, I'm saying to you that either way, satisfaction or dissatisfaction, it was never an easy task. And hats off to you who have accomplished raising children, because it is an important job. let me take the opportunity to pause there and to ask if there are some other joys and fulfillments that you have had being a parent. So you have looked at some. Are there other things that you find fulfilling in being a parent that you want to share? Anybody? What do you find fulfillment in being a parent? Or if your children are even grown and gone, are there other things you can add to the list of joys of being a parent? Anybody? 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 Nobody. All right. So that could either mean one of two things, and I hope it is the first. That all the joys have been highlighted, Pastor Madden. That's why we're silent. Or I hope it's not the latter. Why I find more challenge and hardship than joy, so we can't even get telling nothing good, you know. I hope it is the former, which is the first thing that I've covered it all. So I haven't heard anybody else. So what we're gonna do now, I'm gonna share screen again, and what we're gonna look at now are the challenges of being a parent, the heartaches, the struggles. And this is where we might spark a discussion on certain issues as they go along. So I'll ask for feedback, and I will welcome feedback as they go along. What are some challenges that you have faced in parenting, and heartaches and pains that some of your children have caused you? And I tell you, let me repeat as I prepare to share screen. All right, so here we go. The challenges of parenting, the heartaches of parenting. Parenting, though it's a great job, though it's a honorable position and so forth, it comes with some challenges, such as dealing with teenagers. And we don't even have to put it with teenagers alone, because I know you have what is called the terrible 2s and 3s and all of that. But dealing with teenagers comes with a whole different level of things. So let's talk about that, and then the other one below. And again, if you want to mention, so dealing with teenagers is one of the challenges. Parenting can be very challenging, especially during the teenage years. This is that time when your child is trying to figure out who they are and what they want in life. As a parent, it is important to remember that this is a normal part of children's development and to not take it personally. What on earth are we talking about not take it personally? So let me share this with you, and parents who are experienced parents will understand and agree at the same time. Listen carefully, those of you who are young parents or the parents to be. When some children get to teenage years, let me find about another phrase. They're like flip-flops. Some of your teenage children are like flip-flops. 1 minute they're happy, the next minute they're sad. And then they do this popular song that Celine Dion and others have sung. I love you, then I hate you. That's the part that you have to be careful not to take seriously. They will use these strong terms. There's one moment when your teenage child or children will come to you and say, Mommy, I love your daddy, you're the best daddy, and so forth. And then the next moment you see the teenage child would have claimed undying love for you. I slam the door in your face and I walk out and say, I hate you, I can't stand you. And you say, but what is it? Sometimes you almost want to lose it and fling something through the door too. So understand that is usually, though it is not acceptable behavior, I want you to understand, it's not behavior that you would want to condone, but you have to also, as parents, place some understanding in this one to understand the developmental stages of teenagers. And there are going to be times when a teenage child is going to treat you like their best friend, and then another time they're going to treat you like their enemy. There are going to be times when they want to be in your company. Another time they almost want to disown you, like them not know you. And I'm a mother that. I'm a father that. Seriously, And can I just even pause here to ask for confirmation? I want to make sure I am not speaking anything that is untrue or totally whack and out of there. Do we have some experienced parents who could validate what I just said? Where you went through these teenage years with your children and it's like seesaw with them, up and down, enemy friend. Anybody wants to verify what I just said?
Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
Absolutely right. Yep, yep. Thank you, thank you. Yep, yep. Teenage years can be some of the toughest years for parents because you just don't know sometimes how to approach them. You just don't know what to say at times. You feel unloved, and I see. So, is that a hand here? Go ahead. I see a hand.
Yes, Pastor, you're right. They have that problem with Gabriel.
All right, wonderful. I didn't expect, it's like from one extreme to the next. I didn't expect to be that honest, but hey, all right. And even telling him. So let me just tell you, if somebody never know who that is, I won't call the name of the person. So, but let me just also say this to you and the rest of parents too. One of the other things about your teenage child or children is that they're easily embarrassed. So you have to be careful what you say about them in public. All right. So just a little tip there. They're easily embarrassed. And so you have to be careful. Sometimes you can almost, I'm making up a phrase here now. Sometimes you can almost embarrass them into good behavior. In other words, the pressure is around you and people don't know that you need to do better. You can embarrass them into improvement and change. So you can actually bring in others that they respect and know, teacher, pastor, so forth, and say, you're not behaving yourself. And they're exposed and it makes them change. Well, sometimes they're embarrassed into rebellion. In fact, you do this to me, you show me up, and me no want have nothing to do with you. So I'm just simply saying, even that's why you have to know your child, because you don't know what is going to happen, what their reaction will be at times. They decide to change and do better, or they decide to rebel and just get further away from you guys. So you need to understand what you're dealing with. All right. Any more comments on this particular challenge?
Okay. Good night, Pastor,
Yes.
everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I don't have a child, but I work with students.
Mm-hmm.
And I really say that the students, especially at the intermediate stage, the early teens, mid-teenagers, it's just like you said, they have a flip side to them. So learn their developmental stage, where they're at, is very important. Because just like you said, sometimes they are so friendly. They see as their mother. I have children who call me aunt. Miss Robinson, you're my aunt. And they call me aunt. And there's another side is when you're ready to get firm with them. And so it's like there's a flip to them, or they just come to school one morning and they just have this side to them that, ask them, what happened? I'm just not in a good mood. And so it's good to learn their stages of development, else you will become stressed out and wondering, and maybe start treating them as adults as if they should know what to do, or shouldn't display that kind of attitude. So learning the developmental stage of the children, our young teenagers, is very important.
They are very moody, very moody, very moody at this age and stage, the teenage years. And then the younger ones, like before teenager stage, they can be very, very unpredictable. Yet 1 minute they're good behaving children, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, very good behaving. Another moment, then just start to just act rude, and you say, "What is wrong with this boy doing? What is wrong with this girl doing?" And listen, this is one I have experienced big time. Because a lot of parents, being a pastor, a lot of parents would try to do this. Say hello to pastor, and they embarrass you because they don't want to say hello to pastor. But that's natural. I'm so used to that. When you want them to be articulate, they don't. So say hello to pastor. Then I'll then hand and then turn it from you. And for me, I don't get offended by that. Because for me, I already know that this is how children behave. So you want them to be nice at the time and say they don't. In fact, I'm gonna tell you something. Especially those who are not in teenagers yet, 11 and under, 12 and under. There are times, especially under 10, there are times when your child under 10 years of age will make it seem like you never teach them any manners. And you teach them manners, and they would have gone everywhere. Good morning, hello, hello. And then they come to church. and you have to tell them, tell pastor hello. In other words, sometimes When you want them to shine, whether it be with pastor or your boss, you're going to end up taking them to work one day and you say, all right, we're going to work. When you go to work, the pitting out say nothing to nobody. The pitting out say morning like, and then that's why, notice the last phrase, don't take it personally. In other words, if you did not teach your child manners, then you need to take it personally. But if you taught your child manners and they don't demonstrate manners, don't take it personally. I saw them stay. Now listen, teaching moment is that after you carry them home. Now, remember, don't embarrass them. You can say, listen, if next time I take you back to work, you need to tell the people good morning because I know you know better. So have that conversation with them after to make sure that that is fixed. You know, and I've seen different children at Hillview over time just come around. The same children who did afraid to say morning or wave and I say hello to pastor. After a while, they're doing it on their own. I say hello, pastor. I say, oh, you know me now. A lot of children at times, you must remember this. While I am, for some of you, your pastor and you know me and I'm friendly to you and so forth. Some of your children, even though I dedicated them, you know, at under 1 year of age, them still are grow to know people. So to be honest with you, when they start to talk and so I am still a stranger to them. So when you're almost trying to push them onto a stranger, you know, say, tell pastor hello, we don't know him yet. You know, I've only been in this world for 2 years, we don't know who him be. So after a while, when they start to develop and watch that you're carrying them to church, or if you're one of the parents who carry your children to work because of circumstances, and they start to see this face over and over again and watch their parents interact with this boss, pastor, whoever the person is, then after a while they start to get friendlier, and on their own, you will realize that you don't have to force them. They start to say, hi, pastor, hello, hello, boss, you know. So give them time as well. Understand that some of your children will go through these dynamics. While there are some who are very interactive, you don't have to tell them a thing. They are not shy. They are very, somebody's mic is on just to inform me. I don't know who it is, just to make sure I hear paper skipping. So just making sure that your mic is off in case we don't want to hear what we're not supposed to hear. All right. So know that these dynamics are pretty evident and expected with children. Any more comments? Thank you for the feedback so far. Dealing with teenagers can be very challenging. And sometimes some of your teenagers will indeed bring heartache and disappointment to you because you have the best parenting skills is not a guarantee that sometimes your teenagers won't go wayward, or some of your teenagers. So you have to be prepared for that. Let me just put this out there. Parenting, it's a risk. It's a risk because you don't know what is going to happen. You don't know how your child is going to come out. You don't know what is going to happen. All right. I'm still hearing somebody's mic, you know, so I just hope that the person can identify themselves, or Pastor Mark or Suzette can double check whose mic needs to be muted. I want to make sure that we don't hear anything we don't hear, because sometimes you think your mic is muted and then before you know it, there's a background noise. All right, let's move on. So challenge number 2, raising children is expensive. Raising children is expensive. This is so true. Another challenge that parenting brings is the financial aspect of raising a child. When I read this and I looked at this, I said, man, this is so true. You remember, this doesn't have to be anything wrong with your children or bad about them, you know. This is just a challenge all on its own without any interference from your child. Parents, this is a challenge by itself without your children being good or bad, right? When you have your first child, there are so many things to buy, such as diapers, clothes, toys, you name it. And then as the child grows, there is school fee and all kind of stuff. Then when the second one comes along, all those expenses double. You know, even though I knew this already, you know, sometimes it's good to see things in words that will hit you. And I said to myself, look at that, the truth. So your expenses double. And if, for instance, you have children close, like 1 year after, rather than 5 years later, you almost are going to be getting into the same kind of expenses, like, for instance, school, primary school, prep school, and high school. You have three children in high school right now, and that's triple fees. So listen, I've said it before, parenting is wonderful, but guys, know what you're getting into, because The more children you have, the more expensive it is going to be. Lovely thing, and it's a lovely, the children are lovely to have. But you must remember, and I've said it before, in the nicest way, I'll try to say it again. Children are not experiments. You can't decide to have 3 and 4 and see how it go pan out. You can't decide to have 5 and 6 and say, well, we hope it all works out. They are not experiments, because if it gets too overwhelming for you financially wise, then you can't just put them back on the shelf because you didn't buy them off the shelf in the first place. So parents, if you're not a parent yet, young people, be careful, think about what you're getting into. You see, you must plan to be a parent. No, we're not saying that there isn't the aspect of faith where you will then, you might not have everything figured out financially, but you cannot be at a total loss as a parent to say, oh, well, I don't know how I'm going to feed them, but I'm going to have them anyway. That is not, it's not only a silly, it's not a plan. I can't even call it a plan. It's just unwise, very unwise. Because I should remind you what the Bible says. If you can't, feed your family, especially as a man, if you can't feed your family, you're worse than an unbeliever. So if you are going to tell me that you have one child and you struggle to feed that one child, and you're gonna have a second one, and you struggle to feed the second one, and you're gonna have a third one, and you're gonna, and then after a while you're struggling to feed them and they are starving. Not a good plan. Parenting is not an experiment. I shall repeat that. It's not an experiment. Can't put them back on the shelf after you realize you can't manage. All right. So those expenses can double and triple because now you have 2 children instead of just 1 and so forth. This can be a challenge to a lot of parents, especially those who are first-time parents. It's like you never planned for this. No, listen. Again, that's why I have to salute parents, because when I look at what it costs to just simply feed me, meaning me one, and then just if I were to buy lunch every day, and how the cost of living has gone up. And I said to myself, sometimes I put myself in a parent's position and I said, how do some of these parents manage when you have to be shelling out thousands of dollars each week, if you have more than 1 children. You have to be shelling out thousands of dollars each week, because some persons who are not parents don't realize that, cost of living has gone up. Box food, sometimes the smallest food, that which would have been sometime $200 is $500 for one small box lunch. And depending on the type of child you have, there are some of them who don't want no patty, who don't want biscuit, and I know that is why we have to plan. And so some of you would have to probably, I am giving benefit of the doubt that some of you are already doing this, like, sometimes they have to even cook lunch and give them. And some of them so funny, they don't want to carry lunch to school. So it's like you have to say, all right, here's the lunch money. And I'm saying to myself, some of you parents must be bleeding at your pockets if you don't have a strong income in order to take care of your children. And I'm not blaming you either, It's just the reality, though, of what happens too, as the whole cycle of the economy going up, and if you don't get enough pay and income, it's tough to feed them. And I'm certain that there are parents on the platform, if you have more than 1 children and they're going to school, you have to be shelling out. It can't be that you must be shelling out thousands of dollars each week. Am I talking the things them? Anybody want to confirm? Yes, thank you, Marlon. Go ahead.
Right, George. Yeah, I can definitely testify to the truth of that. It's definitely expensive, especially now within the inflation. I mean, everything else, as I said, everything goes up except the pay. So it definitely hits. But I must add, though, I don't think there has ever been a time where raising children was ever inexpensive. I think it comes with the territory. I think but it's one of those responsibilities that is rewarding. It's like it's a hard responsibility, but it's definitely rewarding at the end.
Yeah. Might I add? Thank you so much, Marlon. Might I add? And this is just in case a parent here is young and doesn't know, but I'm gonna give you benefit of the doubt that most of you would have known this already. But just in case, what am I about to say? You must remember that you have different children and different types. As prices increased, economy increases. For instance, if you used to give your child $500 to go to school, but bus fare, they don't have to take taxi, and it's supposed to, lunch money is supposed to come out of that and break and whatever. You need to understand something, that depending on the child or children you have, not all of them are going to, and maybe the relationship when you have is another issue. Not all of them are going to feel, in other words, your $500 is not enough for the child anymore. Not every child is going to have the comfort or the courage. There's another word I'm searching for in my mind, but it's not coming. But these words will work. They might feel timid to approach you to say, Daddy or Mommy, $500 not doing anymore. Why am I saying this? There are a few who will have a special relationship with you and tell you that, while most will not. They feel away. What I'm saying is that, parents, please note this. You are the parent and the adult. You are seeing how the economic costs are rising, costs are rising. Don't allow your child to come and ask for more, a raise of money, to say, what you call it, allowance and whatever. Not just allowance, but just lunch money and so forth. You're supposed to look on society and know, say, you used to spend, $300 for bus fare, and the government and so forth say it is going, bus fare going to increase. So you're supposed to know that your child is going to need increase in lunch money and bus fare money. And do that. Don't allow them, don't put them in that position. Not many of them are comfortable. Thank God I had parents who picked that up, who did that, my mother and my father, because when things started to go sky high, little by little, and patty increase and everything there, they would come to me and say, we understand and hear what's going on. So here is some more money now. And again, that's why it becomes expensive. But parents, please note, if your children are still going to school, don't put them in that position to come ask you for more money. You're supposed to know. Just like how you make that adjustment as an adult, you must make it for your children and to say, here, son, $500 not going to cut it anymore. I know. In fact, sit down and talk with your child and ask them, how much for the canteen food? How much for it now? Make them find out what's going on too. That will help you to make a decision as to if this is enough or not. Find out, talk to them, because you give them the money anyway to spend. In other words, you give them responsibility. You don't go to school them and spend the money for lunch and so forth. You give them the money to be responsible in spending it. So ask them how the money are spent. Is it okay? And God bless there are a few children who are them so humble, them suffering, and they don't want to tell them parents, because they don't know if they approach them parents. They want to suffer and they don't know it now work. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm glad that it's just a few that happens so, but I'm coming to your part. There are some of them that are suffering, and because of the austere mentality of some parents, strict austere mentality of some parents, they're afraid to approach mommy and daddy who is oblivious to the need, and they don't know what to do. And sometimes some of these children end up doing some things to get money. And then when you hear them steal, when you hear them do something outrageous to get money, just to buy food and buy lunch, that's how you think them are come back all right and them are manage. You don't know how them are manage. And then one day you hear principal call you in and say your child thief money from teacher bag or the canteen or whatever. Or them a hustle. That's how they're hustling. I haven't forgotten your part, but I want to get this one out. And then you come into the principal's office and you just, when you hear, just box them in the mouth and say, may I raise you better than that? Oh, you are a thief. But you don't know, so your child has suffer. You never even make the financial adjustment. So parents, think it through. If you make the adjustment, you need to make it for your children. Go ahead now, Pat.
Yeah, in addition to that, sometimes the parents them might even know say them a do these underhand things and they turn a blind eye because they can't really afford to help out. So then they just turn a blind eye and make the child go ahead with what they might do.
Mhm. So true. You finished? So true. So true. You're right. So there in itself presents another challenge. You know that the child should be getting more. However, you don't know what else to do because your peer is not anymore. So you just say, boy, and you know what? I'm certain some of you have seen it. Some of them not only part, some of them not only just allow them to hustle and do some wrongs, but some of them send them out to hustle because and the tone and the language and the communication is so wrong for some parents. Like you me can't manage you, me can't. So you go sell. Hey, me I give two the thief God help me to be kind. But thief begin at them off of that tree and go sell them a road. Some listen, it's funny, but it's not funny. There are some people and some parents who actually wait for mango season to come to steal mangoes from other people's property and carry it out they go sell so that the children are work for them own money. Listen, we would have been giving them a bad example. So therefore, indeed, we know that it is a difficult thing. That is why it's one of the challenges, because sometimes when a parent is in this position where they can't do better and know they need to do better, it puts a parent in almost like a sinkhole of emotions. I have brought child or children into this world and I'm unable to feed them properly. And that makes a parent feel inadequate. It's almost when you are not able to provide for the children's basic necessities, it does something to a parent. It either sends them into depression or stress, or for some people, they themselves become desperate and end up doing wrong things. And I'll put it out there. I've heard parents say this, but taking it literally, there are many parents who would have said this. They would say, I would do anything. I would do anything to take care of my child. But the anything that some of them mean is anything, beg, borrow, or steal. Beg and not too bad, borrow not too bad, but steal. Because it depends on what your situation is. But there are some parents who will do anything, steal, kill, for. And they say they're doing it for their children. Sell drugs, so forth. These are the heartaches of parenting. This one is big, it's huge. The expenses meeting the child's need, because there are some parents who started out with this with an innocent agenda to take care of the child. But when the reality hits, they are at a low paying job, and it's not getting any better. They didn't further their education. Some of them just didn't do what they're supposed to do, and they're not going any further in life, sad to say. No promotion, no nothing. And then after a while, they realize, okay, high school is over. My child wants to go to college. I could barely find lunch money and bus fare to give them for high school. Where am I going to find college money, university money? And those things are things that weigh heavily on some parents. God bless those who could afford and those who are able to access even loans and so forth. But for some of them don't even have what is called, because sometimes certain loans is almost like you need resource and backative to back up the loan, so to speak, and assets to back it up. So this is tough. Go ahead, Marlon. Go ahead.
Just a quick, just to add to that, I think too sometimes. I mean, I'm at a very young stage, so I'm pretty much at a stage of learning from others, or should be learning from others. But also the idea, I think some of us are following a pattern that kind of had been carved out by society. So I'm wondering, the pressures of not every child should be going to college in one side. Sometimes it can be a skill, sometimes it can be different courses. So sometimes I think it's a matter of kind of looking at your child, knowing where your child is, knowing what he loves, because sometimes it doesn't require going to college where you have to take a loan that probably he or she won't be able to pay off. And that's that's a situation that exists right now. A lot of kids that they graduate from college and they can't find jobs. They are working at the low paying jobs that you're talking about. So I think, we have to make sure that our thinking is not geared by the culture, but is geared upon wisdom. Prayerfully examining and discerning the time and discerning the culture and making sure that our steps, in a sense, our steps are ordered by the Lord. And I think some of us are so caught up in how everybody's doing it this way, so I'm doing it that way, and then we end up and that's just one small aspect of the whole big picture, but it is an ongoing issue that exists right now in regards to the finances of kids. And so, we get caught up in doing the same thing that everybody does, and it actually hurts us. It hurts a kid.
Good point. Stereotypical way. There are different ways to the top too. And there are different skill sets that, so I'm certain parents would have heard this advice, but let's say it here again, that you need to make sure that you're encouraging your children to fulfill their purpose in life. What is it that they want to do, not what you as a parent want them to do. So if it is that they want to be a hairdresser, then let them be the best hairdresser in life. They want to be a barber, let them be the best barber in life, and so forth. If they want to be doctor, lawyer, teacher, nurse, that is quite fine too. But make sure that you're not pounding the stereotypical careers into their heads, while there are a variety of careers that people can choose. So, and then allow them to choose what they are cut out to do, their purpose in life. Purpose is very important. All right, wonderful point. All right, let's keep going then. So we have looked at, yes, go ahead. Yes, I'm hearing.
One of the things I cannot understand and I will not get it is when a parent will say to a child, like you were saying, the allowance or the lunch money need an increase. And the child will come home and say to them, Mommy, say box food is $4.50. And when I buy the box food, or whatever, because sometimes they may not have enough breakfast. So, they back it up with the box lunch at school. And the parents would answer, well, if you get it from figure, if you got tea for figure, what are you saying to the child? Because that child is yours.
Yeah.
So the question you're asking that child, I don't know where the child is to get it either. If you don't know, then where's the child going to get it?
Yeah, that's a great way of saying it. I like that last statement. Where is the child going to get it from? Sometimes I wish and I know parents are still human beings and imperfect beings, but sometimes I wish somebody would hear some parents and just simply just be the voice of wisdom and reason and say, like what you just said, you just ask your child where them to get it from, where you forget it from as a parent. Where you expect the child to get it from? Who you expect the child to come to? No, you, same way. So I wish parents would understand that. That's why they brought them into this world. You are the parent, so I'm coming to you and I'm reasoning with you. That's why I said it earlier too. Don't allow your children to have to approach you on this. I know that dialogue will help, but it's still not the solution. But at least start with dialogue and to say, son, daughter, why we have it hard here. Daddy and mommy not making ends meet too well. That at least begins the conversation to let them know that you're not rich as parents and you're not squandering money and that you don't know, but we will. What you want to do now is to try to assure them that we're going to try as best as possible to care for you. And sometimes, I said it earlier and I say it again, sometimes parents who get to the place where they are not making ends meet will have to be innovative or creative to find other ways. Like, son, daughter, even if you don't like carry lunch to school, this is what we're going to have to do because we are not at the place to afford the box lunches anymore. And so as of next month, mommy or daddy is going to start to cook food for you, make sandwiches and carry it, sit them down and let them understand that this is where bring them into not just the dialogue, but bring them into the solution, in that regard. Because if you can't find the money, then you're gonna have to find other solutions, or
But it
if
is,
possible. Yeah.
but it is called
Go ahead.
sacrifice also too, Pastor.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
when you have them, some things that you usually do for yourself, you now know that I can't go and buy 2 dresses for the month anymore, or I can't buy 3 pieces of wigs or earpieces anymore because I have my children, and you can buy every slippers you see on sale and every shoes. And
Yeah.
as my mother would say, and every time one pan lick, you're gone.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is called sacrifice. And some parents is not willing to give up from themselves for their children. If you have the child, you are going to have to make that sacrifice. Cut some of you for the children.
Wonderful point. Cut some of your expenses, because and pardon my language, I'm not going to cuss bad or anything, but I'm just saying I'm going to use that term. So you have some people who are called ghetto people, and them call themselves ghetto people or poor people, and they sometimes I look at some of those lifestyle of some of those people, so them are poor people and ghetto people, and Sister Black mentioned some points there. They will claim to them poor and not have the money, and them not have the money to send them child to school, but yet still them you watch the lifestyle of some of them who claim to be poor people. Them sometimes dressing up the hottest clothes, them up to par with it, the hottest clothes, the hottest shoes, the clocks and so forth, and why they're not gonna spend money on clocks. And not to mention just some of the things that they engage in to keep themselves. They as you said, and those things are expensive. The eyelashes and the whole works and the makeup and the nail technician. We not take a nail technician work, but when you watch some of the lifestyle of some people, not all, you will know who will suffer from who not suffer. And sometimes it's not suffering, it's mismanagement of the money. Wonderful point. All right, let's keep going. Here is a third point. Parents always need to be emotionally available to their children. Why is this a challenge? Because sometimes it's going to call for you to give more than you can handle at the time. It's demanding to be a parent. It's very demanding to be a parent. Parenting can sometimes become too much for parents, especially since parents need to always be emotionally available to their children. This means that parenting becomes more of a job and less like an enjoyable experience for parents, which can be frustrating and could cause parenting burnout. What a term, parenting burnout. So listen, it's not just the money, no, it's the attention. So you might be able to, hello? I don't know who that is, but your mic is on. You might be able to provide the finances for them, and they are comfortably financed. Everything they want, you can pay for. But sometimes that same thing becomes the attention thief. Because you want good for them. No, again, me know it's hard to solve that one, because you say, but Pastor, we don't want them suffer. So we work overtime and we do 2 jobs, and we want to make sure that them all right. But be careful of this one. You are fattening them up very nicely, but then emotionally they are starving. They are emotionally and spiritually dehydrated because you have to work long hours and 2 jobs to make ends meet and to feed them. Sometimes your child comes to you and says, Mommy, Daddy, I want, can you sit with me and just talk to me about this, or, help with the homework? Me don't have no time for you. Are you there at work with? Go to ask your father. Me go to daddy. Daddy say, why? Me I work online just for you, so me don't have the time. Go ask your mother. And you bounce them from mother to father, and nobody has the time. I'm just saying to you that while you are doing a good thing in providing for them financial stability, be careful that you don't lose the emotional side, the spiritual side, the mental side. Be careful that you don't become distant to your own children in the home, right? So it is going to require for you to know how to balance your thing and to say, all right, I am really exhausted here now, but I have not spent time with my child in days or weeks. So put this down for a moment. Or you're tired and you say, just give me 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I'm going to have a shower and come back. You know, try to do something to refresh yourself and spend some time with your children. It comes with the territory, whether you like it or not. Yes, that's why I said know what you're getting into. It's not an experiment. You can't go pick up a child off the shelf and then after 10 years you say, boy, I can't mind them when I'm going to return them to sender. Not on a work. Know what you're getting into. So it's demanding parenting. It requires so much of you. And remember that, especially at their early ages, a lot of them don't understand this lack of attention and neglect. They know that you are supposed to provide for them stability. They know that you're supposed to provide for them emotional well-being and all those kind of things. They know that so they're coming to you for that, mommy, and you know, and in whatever way they ask it, they are saying to you, mommy or daddy, I need some of your time. I need some of your attention. In whatever way they ask it. So parents, this is one of the biggest challenges as well too, because sometimes it is at the expense of the expenses. And if you didn't understand, let me clear that up. It's what I was saying earlier. Sometimes you don't get to spend time with them because you're trying to work to take care of the expenses just for them. Know how to put that balance here, because you will lose your children. In one hand, you're saying, I'm working for you to provide for you. And then after a while, when you look around, you don't see anybody in the home. When did you grow up and leave? Mom, you just never noticed. Dad, you just never noticed. But I was working so hard to make you comfortable. Why are you uncomfortable? You didn't give them the emotional side that they needed. So be careful of that one. It is a sticky situation, trying to balance that. And as the word was used earlier, I use it again. Even this calls for sacrifice. And it's sacrifice of your time. When you don't feel like it, when you're exhausted and you say, we can't bother with no pick, you know, you better bother with them. Because sometimes it is the same parents who lose their children after a while, bawling out the place and saying, I can't believe, sir. My one son gone and my one daughter, I don't know when me do them so. And then here's what some parents end up doing, you know. In order for them to make themselves look bad. They didn't realize that they neglected emotionally their children. They didn't realize that they neglected them emotionally. So they say, you can't believe so the ungrateful boy and the ungrateful girl. Look how much go hard me work. Look how hard me work. And then God left me so. But you weren't filling the tank emotionally. So I'm saying know how to do that one properly. That requires not just financial sacrifice, that requires sacrifice of your time as well. All right, so I hope you're listening. All right, and parents who have gone through this, help those who will be going through it. Because some of you know, say you're past that stage already, while others are going to go through that stage. Help the young parents, experienced parents, help the young parents. Let's look at this final challenge here. Parenting sometimes does not leave much room, and it's interesting. It is kind of hinging on what we were saying earlier. Parenting sometimes does not leave much room or time for personal goals and activities. Let me flesh that out. Parenting is a demanding job. Parents need to be able to multitask and balance parenting with the other aspects of their lives. This way, parenting will not be the only thing in a person's life. Parents must find a way to enjoy parenting and have time for themselves as well, or too. So sometimes when you decide to raise children, and you all know this by now, the more you have, the less time you listen. Sometimes the spirit just downloads some stuff. I never prepare for this. So I'm gonna say it the way the spirit tell me. The more children you have, parents, the less time you have for yourself. Let me say it again. The more children you have, the less time you will have for yourself. So the more children you have, the less time you will have. Because they require time, attention, you name it. And so this is one of the heartaches, one of the struggles of parenting. And so decide in your mind if you're going to have 3 children or 4 children. And there are some parents I've seen that they love children and they keep having them and they do well in balancing the time, while others, They just have them because they love having children. I'm coming to your part, see that hand. They have them because they love having children, but they don't do a good job in balancing time, treasures, you name it, with the children. It cannot be. We have to talk to some of these parents to let them understand that you, again, I repeat myself, talk to some of these parents to tell them that children are not experiments. And so understand that if you're going to have children, then sacrifices, sometimes sleepless nights, especially when a young baby is there, and you know how it goes. You might not have time. Some parents have had to put off their own personal goals because they have the children too young, meaning before they were able to do their own parenting, the parents were unable to do their college and university. And then, you know, it puts a delay on your plans. Parents have had to do that. And so, you know what you're getting into, you know, and know how to balance, still find some time to accomplish some things. All right, go ahead, Pat.
Okay, what I was thinking of is that you said that if you have more children, you have less time. I was thinking not necessarily so, because when you have only one child, that child wants to spend all the time with you at all the time. But when you say have two of them, they'll be by themselves and playing. But when it's just one, it's like you have to be there with that one all the time. So not quite necessary.
All right, so but let me ask you though. I see your point, but I don't. So I want to ask it this way. Do you think that the more children you have, the more time you have? Or are you saying that it doesn't happen in all cases, but as a general rule, the more children you have, the less time you have most of the time? Well, I'm not sure if you are what you're saying. When you say not necessarily, it means that it doesn't always apply to every household. But as a general rule, can we say that the more children you have, the less time you have? Because everyone then requires more of you, more, because,
Right. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
They require more time from you, yes. But you need time to spend with each one, yes. But there are times when they are to themselves and playing or doing whatever. But when you have just one child, it's like that child wants to consume all your time. Every that child is like the child will be alone. The child wants to be with you all the time because it's only one child.
Okay, fine. It's just that I was just making sure that as a general rule, indeed, the more of them you have, for the most part, they're still going to be, especially if you have them close, you know, to each other. Then sometimes, for instance, if you have a 1-year-old and that child becomes 2 next year and you have another one, then sometimes they can't play with each other and play that role. So it depends on how close you have them to. If you decide to have them and you have a 1 and a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, that in itself is a whole ball game of different interactions. So you see, it depends on, you know, so I understand what you're saying though, not necessarily in all cases, and sometimes one child can become too demanding. All right, in that regard. All right, fine, wonderful. All right, are there any more challenges or heartaches or what you call you know, challenges? This is the word challenges that you think, because we're done, and I just want to make sure that anybody with an experienced parent would like to speak to this forum to say another challenge that you will face as a parent or might face is this. Anybody giving opportunity, what might know? Anybody else has anything to add to this to help a parent that is young and trying to make it work here? Another challenge or common challenge? Is there anything we missed?
All right. I was talking to a friend of mine today, and he was sharing that, you know, his daughter, she's well, she didn't finish college, but she came to an event at the house Thanksgiving, and he noticed that there was this other girl who was dressed like a guy who was, you know, catering to her. And you know, after speaking to her, he found out that she was seeing a female, and he's pretty distraught about it because he said that it's a Christian home and he doesn't know where that came from. So he's pretty distraught about it. And a lot of parents now are being faced with that challenge. And it's really a big challenge, especially for parents who, have Jamaican backgrounds. It's really a big challenge for them. So, that is a challenge that any parent can face.
True, true. I'm so glad you mentioned that point. That's why I know there is more out there now. And some of our children, they are being bombarded with the same-sex relationships, homosexuality, lesbianism, and has become a big challenge. And as you're saying it, no, it is more prevalent in America and so forth, but it has crept into some homes in Jamaica too. But you know how Jamaicans are; they are more secretive about that kind of thing. And definitely, that in itself is a challenge because, especially on a Christian home, that's like the cardinal sin for many Christian parents. There are some Christian parents who will put up with anything else but that one. Like, no way. You better you bring in baby. you better seriously, some parents say, I will handle fornication and baby and unwanted pregnancy, but not that one. You decide to what? To love man when you're a man, you decide to love woman when you're a woman. No. And so that in itself is a whole different ball game, and really it's difficult to even handle from a Christian perspective, to try to draw the line as well as to bring the balance to the table of how on earth do you help your child without condoning this wrong? How on earth do you support your child without turning them out and not giving them a fair hand, Marlon, and not giving them the impression that you support homosexuality? That's a big one for some parents, and some have not figured it out yet. Some have just gone to one extreme and said, come out of my house, while others have said, well, I am going to support you no matter what you do, and almost compromise scripture too. So anyways, that one is tough. Brother Marlon, go ahead.
My comment was actually, it wasn't along that line, but I think it kind of encapsulated, because I think too, another thing, from a child is young, I think most parents don't have a biblical worldview. So they tend to look at their children, their small children, as this innocent baby, who's incapable of doing anything. But the scripture pretty much tells us that we're sinners from the womb. So we're capable of much evil from very young. And I think that's something that needs to be, you have to approach it from that. You have to understand that and realize that they are sinners. They need the gospel. They need to be transformed just as much as you did. And so that has to be at the forefront of your thinking, all the way up until you're adults. In regards to I'm not claiming to be an expert, but I've been following. There's a movement right now where there are persons who are trying to infiltrate, and different corporations who are trying to infiltrate families, trying to do away with the families, and trying to incorporate a new way of thinking. There's like a third way of thinking, so it's no longer a two-way system, or it's not male and female anymore. There are different variations, but that we have to make sure that we inculcate that in our kids from early, that there are only two genders, and explain that there are, because of sin, so we'll see things it's a deviation from what God has intended. However, that is exactly what it is, a deviation. So they need to have that grounded from young, and they'll hear it back up at church as well. And also, we also have to realize that those persons outside of church, they are mission field. They are in need of the gospel. So whether it be inside your family, outside your family, they need to hear the gospel too. They need to be transformed. They are capable of doing the same thing that you were at one point. Whether that be homosexuality, bestiality, whatever the deviation or the abhorrent perversion is. So we have to realize that those things are real, and they're very close to us. And we have to make sure, we have to be prayerful, we have to be preaching the gospel when we have the opportunity, to our youth and to ourselves, because that's the only escape that we have. There's no psychology. There's nothing that can actually break this trend, because it's a growing trend. It's growing around the world, and it's becoming more acceptable. Our way of looking at things is becoming the minority view. In fact, it's becoming the hate view in some circles, to say that there's only two genders, and that's how God intended it, and so forth and so forth. So we have to be prepared for this.
Yeah, yeah, and we need to be aware of where the influence is coming from, and nip it in the bud. So, for instance, let me bring out one couple. We call them like a super couple, Will and Jada Smith. Will Smith, big. Everybody know Will Smith and Jada Smith. And if you're following the trend of how they treat their children have done and taken on some weird personas, their children. But as parents, very, very accepting. They don't want to cross the line, or they don't want to put a line in the sand to tell their children. So Will and Jada Smith grow their children anything. If you want to be a homosexual, it's up to you. If you want to change gender, it's up to you. And there's this acceptance. So if you're seeing your child following Will and Jada Smith, meaning following by social media, watching them, you must watch your child and to say, hey, listen, you see what Will and Jada Smith are accepting? That's not how God intended it. We have to nip it in the bud, because what they see Will and Jada do, they themselves, if Will and Jada accept it, then maybe I should. You must nip it in the bud right away and say, no. Gabrielle Union and what our basketball husband named Dwayne Wade, that's our husband.
Yeah.
Right, Gabrielle Union, Dwayne Wade, popular people as well. Very inclusive, accepting. If they were asked a question, I remember reading that article of just a few years ago. If their child were to be a homosexual or change gender, what would they flip out? Them say no, they need to be what they want to be, and so this is what is coming from the popular people. So when you see your child watching these people, nip it in the bud. Talk to them and sit them and say, hey, business, no, we're doing weird though. No? So I wanna don't say it the way I say, but we just talk the things in a certain way. So you do it lovingly and you say, listen, this kind of influence where you see happening from these people, that's not the way it's supposed to go. That's not God's intention. Try to nip it in the bud, because remember, they're following these people, and the more these people accept wrong and evil, your children these are people that are slowly in Christian or no Christian family, Christian or no Christian children. These are the influencers. And so we have to be the better influencers, the spiritual influencers. Nip it in the bud, talk to them and sit them and say, I see what Will Smith and Jada are doing. And so come here, child, come here. And this is why what they have accepted is not right before God. This is how you have to discredit the bad influencers, the bad influences. All right, wonderful. All right, any final comments before I wrap up? I'm going to just make a conclusive statement. Who is this? Is that another hand, Marlon? Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a quick one. I just wanted to say that too, the scripture kind of Proverbs is a good book to go to. It talks about guarding our heart. We have to guard our heart, because the things that we consume, and that's something that for me as an adult too, I have to be careful, because as you said, the influences, you watch the program, you think it's fine, but then it has scenes or it has things that, it's like you concede in a small way, and then it just grows into a sore, to use that, it does. So we have to be careful, especially the mobile devices. I think kids that's one of the things that I strongly oppose. Like, I think kids should not have smart devices. It's not, there's no wisdom behind it, because that's the gateway to many of these nonsense. And there's many scientific, recently YouTube, I think it was Instagram and Facebook did a internal research, and it was talking about the effects on kids and young people and young adults, how it adversely it actually boosts suicidal tendencies and mental illness. And it's there they did the study. That's Facebook and Instagram. So they did their own study, proving that it has psychological effect on young people and young adults, and adults too, but mostly on the young people. So there is warning from even external, from the very companies themselves about the dangers of. So I always just can't understand how so many kids have smartphones and have access to view and trust me, some of the dangers that I stepped in because of smart device. So yeah.
Yes, parents, if parents decide to give them smart devices, they need to guide them. They shouldn't be using them without guidance in that regard. Because we're still in a technology world and we don't want to be left behind either, but they need to be guided. Beulah, go ahead.
Yes, I just want to back up something that Marlon had said before about, children and how they come into the world. And I think parents and adults, all of us, because all of us at some stage, we have to deal with the children. And we have to realize that, we see these children and we say, oh, sweetie, 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 oh, this one is so cute and everything. We have to realize that the children coming to this world, they are the heart of a child is, you might not want to say it that strongly, but just like the Bible says, desperately wicked, they are not little saints coming in. And so we have to train them. They have to be trained, and we have to make sure that we are behind them at all stages. They can't be left up to themselves. And even when they go off to college, you have to make sure you have a relationship with your children, because that's a time when you realize that a whole new world is out there for them. They are open up to so many things, as you're saying, with, homosexuality, all of these things, lesbianism, witchcraft, just things you'll be surprised to know what they're open up to. So parents have to be on their guard. You have to be there with them, at every stage of their lives. And I like what Fairview is doing. Sometimes parents have to realize that, as parents, as adults, we can't do it all by ourselves. So we have some institution which will say, okay, send your children to us for a year, and we'll make sure, mold them, expose them to what they're going to, face when they get out there into the world and what they're going to be faced with. And so, not everybody will have the opportunity, like some of us who are listening now, to send their children off to Fairview for just 1 year to mold them and let them know what exactly they're going to be facing. So I think it's an opportunity for parents, to help allow other institutions, biblical institutions, to help to foster your children and to help you to build that foundation.
Wonderful. Good place to end, and a plug for Fairview Baptist Bible College at the same breath. We do try our best to mold your young people, and if we have older in the midst, we also prepare them to help young people. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a conclusive statement from the handout I was looking at, and then Sister Pat made a good suggestion there, which I'm certain we are praying for our children. I'm preparing from now. After I read the conclusive statement, Sister Pat, I'm going to invite you to unmute your mic and pray for parents and children, right? Just give a special prayer for parenting and children too, because it's tough. And so here's how I want to conclude tonight's thing. There are joys and there are challenges to parenting. There are joys and there are heartaches to parenting. But parents, I want to encourage you to find your joy in parenting more than the challenges and the heartaches that will sometimes overwhelm you. So parents, you must find a way to enjoy parenting and have time for yourselves. Otherwise parenting can become overwhelming and frustrating. Parents, you need to always be emotionally available for your children. Do not allow your parenting to become more of a job rather than a joy. Let me repeat that. Do not allow your parenting to become more of a job rather than a joy. It is important to find moments of joy in parenting and to savor the experience. Parents, we are with you. We understand the toughness of it, but there's joy and reward in it. May God continue to guide you as you parent the children. Pat, please go ahead. And as we pray with Pat.
Yes, let us pray. Eternal God, I want to thank you for parents, Lord. You have ordained it that there are parents and Christian parents in particular. I pray, Lord, that you will just give wisdom, strength, understanding to our parents. It's not easy, but Lord, I pray that you cover the parents that are listening at this time, cover them under your blood, under your anointing, and help them to stand up as stalwarts, as virtuous women, to serving you as in the capacity of parents. Not only virtuous women, but virtuous men as well, to serve you. Father, I pray that parents that are on this platform, and Christian parents in particular, will give their children over to you like how Hannah lent her son to you, that they will give their children over to you, that they will not cease praying night and day, to pray constantly, because the wicked one is out there waiting to snatch our children from you and from us. I pray, Lord, that you just cover the parents, Lord. Cover our children, protect us, protect them, keep them from the wicked one, keep them from the evils that are out there in this world, Lord. And I pray that your covering and your anointing be upon each one. In the precious name of Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Sister Pat, and all of you for coming. We are going